Right.
It's gonna be real
Get
easy to look you in the eyes and talk. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
Okay, you rolling? We ready? Everybody's ready?
I'm ready.
All right. All right, Darryl Worley, we are back.
We are back.
And this is by far the coolest moment I've ever had with Darryl Worley. My first trip to the Ryman, and I
didn't know it was your first trip.
Absolutely, my very first time in the building.
Wow.
And we're getting to walk around and be backstage, and there's people buzzing up and down the hallways. I mean, the Opry was incredible, but man.
Yeah, this is. Have you checked out any of these photos and stuff?
I've been trying to make my rounds. Thankfully, we're going to be here all night, so I've got to see them all.
John Cash and June Carter right behind you. Elvis and Johnny Cash. I mean, it's just, this place is really, truly is special. Of course, Charlie can attest to that. He's been out here a million times, but it's just, I know that it has been like, having the opportunity to come out here and play a number of times. I don't take it for granted. It's one of those experiences that kind of never goes away. And you can go over on the other side and up to the dressing rooms on the third floor, and then you can sneak around back there and go in the attic and go up in there and look over the stage in the audience. It's pretty.
So we're going to go do that on one of these breaks, aren't we?
It's kind of spooky. But it's just full of all this.
Kimberly was texting me some cool facts that she knew and some cool, I was like, okay, that's pretty, that makes some sense now. And some, because I was just I sent her a picture of you while you were doing a sound check, and I told her this is my first time. So that's pretty,
it is
cool
special.
Stuff,
I'm thankful that you guys got to come out here on account of I was doing something here.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
It just makes it neat, and of course we love supporting you in any way we can, and of course meeting all your cool friends. I'll tee you up and let you introduce your buddy sitting on the couch here.
Well, everybody's going to already know who he is.
Yeah.
Well, they may know. They may not know who I am, but they may know who my dad is.
The father.
Yes.
This is Charlie Daniels Jr.
Yeah.
And a dear friend of mine. He and I haven't had an opportunity to spend as much time together as me and his father did, but I went out and did his podcast.
That's what he was just telling me about.
And so I asked him and thought it would be cool to get him on here, especially because of the connection between my dad and his dad and me, and also just. He's right up in the middle of all this stuff that we do around here. He's got an incredible podcast. If you haven't seen it, you need to
looking
check
forward
that
to
out.
it.
Well, what's funny about that is that you basically closed the podcast down with me because
oh
no,
I did that to about four record labels.
No, it was a great interview. I really had, it was very emotional and stuff, but it just the year has been a lot going on, and there's a lot of stuff going on personally. There's a lot of stuff that's been going on with Dad's legacy and trying to push that forward and stuff. So it's kind of just been that I kind of had to put it back on the back burner. Hopefully doing this will kind of, spur me along to kind of get back into swinging things.
I hope it does, because I think you had a good thing going there, and people, I mean, I heard other people talk about watching yours before I ever even came and did it.
Yeah.
And then I told Julianne, I said, we should get on there sometime if we can. And it did go good. It was
What's
a
the
blast
name of that
coming
podcast?
to do it.
Oh, it's hard to remember, the Charlie Daniels podcast. So if
that's pretty easy. Michael throw a link to that up there and let folks go find the
wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah.
So
if you don't mind, you can talk a little bit about just what your wife's been going through and stuff, and that way people can know. And we got a lot of praying people that follow this thing, and we're not bashful about talking about that part of our faith and stuff.
Well, absolutely, and I appreciate it. And we pray every night for multiple times actually a day for people as well. And her, my wife was born. She has a mild form of cerebral palsy, and so it has mostly affected her legs. She now, after she had her child like 9 years ago, She has to walk with an assisted device or lock arms with somebody, but she's done pretty well with it. It's been a lot of adjustment for her, and then she had some spasticity issues that led to her being in the hospital. And she reminded me of this. I think it was when Kimberly broke her arm, because she was actually in either Vanderbilt or over at the Stallworth Rehabilitation. But,
well, I'm going to say this. I made a kind of a joke, and I shouldn't have, because ours has not been that bad. We haven't had any extended stays like that.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that, but we need to remind everybody that's watching to pray for your wife. So tell them her name.
Chelsea.
And we will, man, I'll be honest with you. It may sound crazy, but this podcast has just been uplifting for me. I feel it. And we talk about stuff like this all the time. And shoot, I don't know how we would have negotiated all of the things that we've been through this year had we not had a lot of good praying people lifting us up. And so you know, when you go through these difficult times and it's bumpy road, knowing that there's this thing is growing my fan base in a whole different way. You know, a lot of the people that's watching the podcast are not fans before.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how they found us, and I don't care. But we're just going to try to keep making them happy, because the numbers are jumping up there, and we're so blessed. I'm thankful for that, man. So
that's fantastic.
Thank you for coming today. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And
yes, sir.
We were talking about the logistics of setting up somewhere else. The one time, and it was before I started doing video, I did like the first 13, 14 episodes, I think, were just audio, and I had just strictly gone in with the microphone and set up, and then I was wanted to do Eddie Montgomery. It was like Eddie and Dad, that was they were they were huge fans of Dad's, and so I was actually there the day their first album got approved by the label, and so we Anthony Martin, it was their A&R guy, and the producers, Jim Cotton, and I can't remember the other guy's name. So it was a whole bunch of people. We all went down to Longhorn, and I remember that when I left, the bar tab had closed out at something like $900, and then I understood that they had John Michael's platinum card, and so
helpful.
So
hey, Worley, when you go on stage tonight, can we borrow that? I mean, there's a couple
my
places.
card.
Your platinum card.
I don't bring it with me when you guys are around.
Yeah, you know better when we're around.
I've got it locked up in the truck.
But the kicker is that what I heard was they closed it out 2 more times after that. So no telling how much
my gosh.
that cost John Michael. But anyway, I was to tell you real quick. They couldn't come out to the studio to do it, so I had to go to their office, which was close to Berry Hill, and so bring my laptop computer and my microphones, and I've had everything set up, and I go to set up, and like I said, I've always done it in my the control room at my dad's Twin Pond studio
where we did it.
Yeah, and I set it up in front of there, and I couldn't get but one microphone working.
Oh my God.
And it was already cutting into time, and I finally just had to say, we were in a big empty room, and I just had to go,
yep,
let's go. And so it sounds like, and I apologize. I said, just to let everybody know, it sounds like we're in a big empty room. It's because we were in a big empty room.
Yeah. Our producer Mike over here is nodding his head, because when we told him about this podcast, we had this really great idea about building a pretty studio, and we're going to make this easy. It's going to be cookie cutter from the studio side, and we've cut 10 times more episodes outside of the studio where we're going, okay, we might have 3, we might have 5. Hey, we might have 6 for the night's over with.
We've done it a bunch.
We're just doing, and so he's had to learn, and I'm so thankful for him. It wouldn't be possible without him, and of course Sam back at home. But yeah, you're right. Just having those variables, and then you're trying to think through everything, and then what I love is by the time you get done doing all that, you're a sweaty mess, and like, okay, now I got to get on camera, get behind a mic, and try to catch my breath, and the things that happen behind the scenes.
Well, and one to kind of segue into something else here. We are at the Mother Church.
Yeah,
we're backstage here,
Ryman Auditorium.
Ryman, and how long have you been doing this show?
The podcast?
No, the
Coming
Christmas-
to the Ryman?
Christmas for Kids.
Oh, is it the same Christmas for Kids that used to be in Hendersonville with the tour
They
buses?
still do the buses.
So this same
Yes.
Yeah, 22, 23 years.
Okay. Well, Dad hosted this show for about, I'd say at least 10 years, I think he did. And he was invited to join the Opry here. Martina McBride.
Oh, they did it here at the Ryman.
Yes, they did. Dad was doing the Christmas for Kids show. He had just done his first, I'm pretty sure he had just done his first song.
I did not
and,
know. That's cool.
And they stopped him, and,
Wow.
And we all knew about it. He had no clue.
Oh, man,
he had
that's
no
awesome.
clue whatsoever. And so anyway, Jimmy Burton, he took Dad's fiddle and was going to give him his guitar, and he said, we got an announcement. And Dad's like, okay, we got an announcement. And he looks, here comes Martina McBride walking across the stage holding a box, and he's like, that's Martina McBride, y'all. And she said, hi, Charlie. Says, we've got a present for you. And she opened this box, and she had him like hold the box. She opened it up, and there was a letter in there, and it had this thing about dreams and everything's all the dreams that he was making come true for kids and stuff with the concert. It says, now we want to make one of your dreams come true.
Incredible.
So you're invited to become a member of the Grand Ole Opry. And my dad, who was never at a loss for words, couldn't speak.
It messed him up. I know it did.
Yeah, he had to step away, and Roger, my dad's guitar tech, was going to give him the guitar, and he was just like,
Doing whatever.
I can't do it. Yeah. And so, and he said some things about, that just, how much it meant, because he grew up listening to the Opry. So this is what this place and the radio show was what, basically gave him that love of country music. And for him to actually get to now be part of that, he was just, he said, but then the consummate professional, he said, well, y'all didn't come here to hear me blubber, so we'll go on with the show. So
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a very special night. So
Oh yeah, I can only imagine doing it here. Like it's pretty special to me because we'd come out here to do the veterans special weekend that they were having to just honor, and it was vets of all shapes and sizes, but probably overwhelmingly World War II veterans were in the audience. Yeah. And we came on Friday night, and that's the only one we'd been invited to do. And I thought, well, it'd be interesting to play this new song that we had just written like 2 days before. It's called "Have You Forgotten?" And we debuted it that night, and I mean, it was so overwhelming when those old fellas started standing up, and it just through the whole song, and so I got choked up. I forgot some of the words, but Pete Fisher chased me down when we finished and said, "Hey, will you come back tomorrow night and do this again on the TV portion?" Because Saturday night they was going to have the cameras running. He said, I think it'll just be even bigger than. And I said, well, of course we'd love to. And that's how Have You Forgotten took off. That's what made it.
Had you already, was it already in the can or anything at that point recorded?
Oh, no.
I
had a brand new album out with a single on the radio. And when it hit, so like on Monday morning, we went into the office, and the single was Family Tree, and it was dead. It was gone. and the whole country was playing the 4.5 minute version of Have You Forgotten they had downloaded it from the Opry archives, and people were downloading it and sending it to their local radio stations, and it just took over.
Well, and I understand that because something very similar happened to Dad within America.
Oh yeah,
because they had gone out to and Dad didn't remember what it was, and I'm not sure what the reason was, but the band went out to California, to LA, to record. They actually went in to record in America at the record plant in Los Angeles.
Wow, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Then Dad was supposed to do the ACM Awards, and he was doing a TV special with Cheryl Ladd, which was a really kind of an odd pairing. But it was also my birthday was that weekend, and it was my worst birthday ever because Tommy Caldwell from the Marshall Tucker Band died. He had been in a car accident.
I remember that, yeah.
And so we were actually supposed to go to Universal Studios and everything, and then we were going to... So, no, we had to go fly to Spartanburg, South Carolina. Because
sure.
He had been, it was anticipated, so everyone knew the preparations had been made. So we flew to Spartanburg and then had to fly back for the award show. So Dad did the ACM Awards, and he unveiled In America, which they had just recorded days before, and the place went nuts. I mean, your industry people, the fans, everybody. It was like a several minute long standing ovation on this.
Wow.
But this was But here's the problem. This was 1980.
Yeah.
You don't have the technology to mix and drop something to radio like you do now.
No.
So
how did they do it? I mean,
basically what Darryl was talking about. You had people that had recorded it from the ACM broadcast and were playing it that way. And unfortunately, it ended up going top 10, but they didn't get it out until I think it was May 21st, May 20th, May 21st, something like that. So it ended up not. I think if they had gotten it out, it would have gotten to number one. But then that's
exactly what you said.
Yeah,
we had the ability to do that.
Yeah,
and my song went to number one in 5 weeks, and so we had to really get on the stick. We turned it around in just under 2 weeks. But it was already getting way up on the charts, and it was still from the Opry archives.
Right.
And the radio stations are getting really wigged about playing a 4.5 minute song.
Yeah.
And so we, of course, cut it down like it needed to be and recorded it, and rest is history. It stayed up there at number one for 7 weeks in a row. That song probably would have done the same thing if they could have made it happen in
like
time.
I said, the technology was not on their side, back then, but. Still, next year will be the 45th anniversary of that song. Devil Went Down in Georgia, 45th anniversary. The Fire on the Mountain album, 50 this year. So this has been a year of a lot of anniversaries.
Sure.
And next year will be as well. So
it's cool to have you in, man, because we're diehard fans, and I've told this to people a million times, and it has actually happened to me a time or two. I'm not going to get in. I'm not calling them names, but sometimes you don't necessarily want to meet your heroes. That can go south.
Oh, for sure.
Meeting your father was one of the. It's hard for me to talk about.
He was the same guy on stage.
He was just so good to me.
So he was the genuine. Real deal.
He was just good to me.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something else. He was a great mentor. He loved the Lord. He made no bones about it. He had his day back in his younger day when he was a little rowdier. And me and him talked about that a lot. But boy, he could take one look at me, and it might have just been being in the room with me. He could probably feel it in my spirit. But when I was cutting up too much, he'd get on me, boy. He would dog me out. He'd and I would see him come in a room full of industry people, and I'd go way over yonder and get on the other side. But if I wasn't sitting down, I couldn't hide. He'd spot me, and he'd come after me.
Man, how cool
you're a little too tall to to blend in the crowd.
He was gonna find me anyway because he wanted to see where I was at, and he could tell by looking in my eyes. He'd be like, "Yeah, I know what you've been up to."
And that's one of the things that I love so much about this podcast is the way this episode started was talking about your wife and talking about praying before talking about the family legacy and all those things. And then just now, he didn't say anything about what they did musically or how that impacted. It was about what he did as a man. And that's being
true.
in my seat from where I get to sit and get to experience this with so many different relationships throughout the industry. And that's why he entitled it Sounds Like Life to be the podcast title. And so just a really cool moment there. And I wish we had a live studio audience so everybody could watch this thing.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to be sure that y'all have this picture, this photo of me and his dad.
Okay.
Not long before he passed, he'd asked me to come and do one of his fundraisers down here at the Palm for the Journey Home Project, and which I'd like to get you to just talk to us about a little bit about it, and tell us what's going on with that now and stuff. It was such a candid photo, but we were nicely dressed, both of us were, and we were leaning in close, talking to one another, and we were so engaged in communicating with one another that we didn't even know this picture had been made.
Really?
And it comes off when you see it like something that would wind. And I don't mean, I'm not tooting our horns. I'm just saying it looks like something somebody would have taken and wound up in Billboard magazine or Rolling Stone or something, because it was such a good photo of both of us, and we didn't even know it was happening. Yeah. And I've got it blown up at home.
I'd love to see it.
You'll probably know the photo when you see it, but I'll get it. And when we swap numbers, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It turned out so good, and I've seen it used in all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, yes, when I see that picture, it just makes me smile, man.
I know I've seen one of y'all, but it was a little bit more posed. So
right.
I don't think it's the one that I'm thinking
right.
of, that you're thinking of.
So. It was probably might have been one that was made that same night when we were posing.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, let us get a picture. Yeah. It probably stepped back, and we kept on talking, and they took a shot. But
so he mentioned, was the Palm?
That's where they used to have that fundraiser. Now
what is it now?
It went to other places. They did it at the City Winery, and
that's where it is now.
Yeah, tell us a little about that.
Okay, so the Journey Home Project is now the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project.
Okay,
and they raise money to assist veterans, and however they need it. They just raise money. They don't actually do specifics. They raise money, then they find the organizations that they think that we could be able to best.
For instance, they will write us a check at the Darryl Worley Foundation because we have a veterans fund, and we do
fantastic
things.
Okay.
We actually take that money but they also work through us on projects too. It's when he says they raise money, they raise money.
Yeah, neat collaboration there.
Yeah, so when they, like Darryl said, they used to do it at the Palm. When they relaunched it back in 2022, I guess it was, they did the City Winery, and I guess they had done it right before. They did the Charlie Daniels Patriot Awards is what they started calling it.
That's right.
And so they had.
That's what I won.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
And so it's like a little eagle,
Oh, it's
type
beautiful.
Crystal.
Mm-hmm. I think I saw that.
Yeah, and so anyway, they started that at the Palm. It had been Dad had done an event at the Palm for like it used to be St. Jude, and then they did something else, and then they started doing the when Dad formed the Journey Hub Project, they started doing that, and then they expanded into an awards thing. And then, of course, COVID happened. And then, of course, Dad, went home. And so with the first one they did after Dad had gone home was at the City Winery. Yeah. And that was you were there. Yeah, you were there for that one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the year that they gave the Patriot Award to me. And I'll tell you why I say that is because when they didn't want me to be completely caught off guard because they had asked me to come and play Have You Forgotten that night. And so I went to lunch with Don Murray Grubbs and I can't believe I'm struggling saying David Corlew's name because I just probably just wore out. But David came and they had lunch with me, and they told me at this lunch that I was going to be presented with that award, and David said. It wasn't you weren't necessarily in the number one spot on everyone else's list, but you were on Charlie's, and that's the truth. But he said, I'm just kidding about everybody else's list. He said nobody really had a list, but Charlie, he was the one that kind of said, hey, I think this is what we should do, and then we usually went, okay. But he said that I had been on the list for several years. But that particular year, he said, I had migrated into the number one spot for Charlie, and he said, I think we should do this for Darryl Worley. And boy, what an incredible evening! But I kind of got choked up because said a few words. I think I played after they surprised me anyway. It came when I wasn't expecting it at the awards banquet, and but I remember one thing about that night that floored me. And I've seen some of my lyrics. I wrote a lyric out for "Have You Forgotten," and they wanted me to write it on these. They're like canvases. They're thick, so pretty good size. And it took about 2 or 3 of them to get the whole lyric, and it's kind of hard to write on. it's like I'm never doing this again. And when I got there with it, she goes, "You didn't have to write it on that." I said, "Are you serious?" Because somebody told me, maybe Julianne told me I did. And but they took that thing, and if you could see, they took it to this guy. He's not just somebody that does matting; he's an artist.
Yeah.
And it was framed in this gold frame. It was beautiful. Had American flags and stuff, and they got to bidding against each other. That thing went for $40,000.
Wow.
I never in my life, I was just like, I mean, I had beads of sweat popping out on me. I was like, man alive. And a bunch of them turned around. David looked at me when it was over with and went, so I thought that was awesome. Yeah. But they know how to raise money.
Yeah. So.
Well, this is another one of those episodes that I feel like we could sit here and we could talk for hours and hours. And when you get your studio fired back up again, I'd love to just come hang out and be present. As the guy that's learning the scenes and learning the ropes, getting to.
I tell you what we should do too, and I think it would be really fun. And we could do it at the studio, and they could run over there. It ain't that far, but I'd love to get you and David on at the same time.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be really sweet because man. Corlew is incredible. He's an incredible human being. He's a big patriot. He's a great American. And when his father went home, I've never seen anyone as lost and empty. He just didn't know where to turn. Because that's all he's ever done. I mean, Charlie was his life, and
I think David, his first real job, I think he had been working. There was a in Donaldson. There was what they used to call a head shop that was called Sergeant Pepper's, and that I think he had worked there. And Dad might have actually rehearsed in the basement at one point. But from then on, and I think David was like 18. I think he went to work, straight, for Dad. And again, he didn't have another job, you know, so.
Oh, he was just lost. It was so sad to me, and absolutely.
I mean, we were shell shocked for the longest time. I mean, still, sometimes it just doesn't seem possible. And I'll tell you one thing real quick. I had a dream earlier this year, and it sounds weird, but Dad had it was never explained how. There was nothing creepy or weird about it. But Dad just he came back.
I just had that. I had it like less than 2 weeks ago from my mother. I just had that.
There, just present.
It was, and it's like it was no like I don't know if I don't think it was scientific. It was no explanation for it. Yeah. All I can remember is it was one of the most comforting dreams I've ever had.
I had a preacher one time that explained to me could just easily be explained as God giving you some comfort, man. Here's a way for me to give you some comfort. Because it was a moment where, and I know he can go there too. Yeah. It's a moment where you just have a conversation and you just feel like we're in the moment. And you almost have that, I wake up and go, okay, now.
You know what woke me up? What woke me up? God is my witness, was my mama's arms around me, squeezing my sides. I came up out of my sleep like, worried that I was rolling over on her arms. That's how. And I sat up on the side of the bed and cried for 20 minutes. But I told my wife, I said, not one sad tear.
Yeah. Right.
I said, I was so happy to have, and I was just saying, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, Mama. Thank you, God. When you get a gift like that, you just don't take it for granted. And if you can't bring yourself to tell anybody about it, that's fine. Yeah. Because that was for you.
It's your moment, buddy. Yeah.
I'll tell you one more quick
Go
moment.
for it.
And it was just a few weeks after July 6th, and I was still staying with my mom at her house, and we're all we're still just been blindsided. But I had gotten into the habit of swimming laps in their pool at night, and I got out there really late one night, and I would just I was swimming, but then I had stopped by the steps, and I looked over their house, and not 30 feet above it was a shooting star, and I've seen them in movies before. I've seen them, I know what a shooting star looks like. Never seen one in real life before, but this thing was spectacular. It was bright white. It went basically over the roof of the house. The corner was like right here. Went over the roof of their house, and then it just exploded into like a 6 foot long streak.
That was probably a small meteor coming through the atmosphere. I've seen it.
Yeah, but it was so vivid and stuff, and it was just like,
it took
Daddy
your breath.
talking to me,
Yeah,
That's right.
So it was an amazing thing. But I had so many things like that happened around that time. But anyway, I guess we're kind of getting the signal. So
Well, at some point they're going to say, "Hey, we need him on stage," and so we gotta. Unfortunately, we gotta wrap
Man,
it.
I'm just
but
thankful for you coming
it
in.
is.
well, I
it's-
appreciate you having me.
And I'm serious.
We'll get together and
Yeah.
we can dive in when we don't have to
Yeah.
necessarily going on stage, and we can.
Yeah.
Well, we
rolling.
need, when we get another chance, we need to talk a little bit about his father's passion for supporting our military and him being one of the people who guided me down that path and encouraged me to go down that path, because he knew I'd be a natural at it, and he knew how much I loved. He knew how much of a patriot I was. But I'm telling you right now, just looking at you is, I don't mean it's hard, but it makes me so think of your daddy and how much I loved him, and I really appreciate you coming in today.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
It's always good talking with you.
You too, man.
That's right.
Sounds Like Life with Darryl Worley is a Blue Spire music production. Hosted by Darryl Worley and Travis McLeese. Produced and edited by Mike Murphy and Sam Hudson. Set design by Sam Hudson. Theme song Sounds Like Life to Me by Darryl Worley. Executive producers Paul Perry, Julianne Drennan, and Travis McLeese.
But it's what I'm gonna say. It sounds like life to me.